Here we go. The lies. I mean, I think this is going to be the theme for the whole show. But I mean, like, he lied about so much and he made it. You know what I'm saying? I really believe we're all working too hard.
This is Shana.
And Chris.
And we are Bad Queers. If you came out of the closet and got put in a box of stereotypes you don't belong to, then welcome to the Bad Queers Club.
All right. This week in Queer Urban Dictionary, I have global majority, or people of global majority, which is a collective term for people of indigenous, African, Asian, or Latin American descent who constitute approximately 85% of the global population. My sentence is people of the global majority addresses the systemic inequality that many marginalized communities and historically oppressed groups face by emphasizing the collective experiences and struggles of ethnically diverse communities. The concept challenges dominant narratives and dismantles racial hierarchies by promoting inclusivity and mobilizing collective action.
All right. My Queer Urban Dictionary word of the week is Girl Scout. Girl Scout is also known as an alternate name for a lesbian. Because of the act of scouting women you are interested in dating. My sentence is, I missed out on being a Girl Scout growing up, but I feel like I'm making up for it by being a lesbian. Girl Scout. All right. We've made it to the end of 2024. So you know what that means. We got to bring our homie back. Anna DeShawn. Anna's pronouns are anything respectful, is a multi-award and Ambi award-winning podcast producer and host. She's also a Chicago-born social entrepreneur who builds streaming platforms which center and celebrate BIPOC and QTPOC creatives. Media has always been her passion, and in 2009, she turned that passion into a reality when she founded E3 Radio, an online radio station playing queer music and reporting on queer news with an intersectional lens. She expanded her media reach when she co-founded the Qube, a podcast production company and curated platform to discover the best music and podcasts by BIPOC and QTPOC creatives. Most recently, Anna was inducted into the Chicago LGBTQ Hall of Fame because of her commitment to the LGBTQ community. Anna is determined to ride media into its next era by utilizing digital media streams to tell the stories and play the music that deserves to be heard. All right, that was a bio that you have heard before because you know what time of year it is. When we have Anna DeShawn on, it is our end of year review 2024. What a time. And you all know how this podcast goes, but if you're new here, welcome. What a time for you to come and listen to the podcast. This is our end of year review. We do this every year at the end of the year. We break it down by each month what our top stories are. So that doesn't mean we're going to catch every headline because there was a lot going on this year, but we're going to pick our top ones and we're going with our homie, Anna DeShawn. Anna, welcome back.
Anna, great to have you on. And this is year 3. So, you know, we are excited to break this down. As Shana said, there's a lot that happened this year. My God, the stories and trying to narrow it down is crazy. So,
and I'm just talking on mute. So that's really awesome.
It's like, I saw it moving. I was like, I was going to be subtle about it. People were wondering, what is that?
I said, it's great to be here. That's what I said. I also said it's good to see y'all, you know. And I also said this has become a tradition and I'm so glad to be a part of it. I said all those things on mute. Thanks.
Look, in the words of Beyonce, perfect start. Look around, everybody on mute.
It's a very 2024 start. I love it. Go run it back again. It's fine. Right. And we're gonna keep it in because that's exactly how this year went. Woo, okay. Well, to jump into January, a lot of stuff happened, but the first story I'm going to get into is what happened on January 3rd, a day that we might as well call J3. Shannon Sharpe released his interview with Katt Williams, opening a portal that remains open till this day, to this recording. Just foreshadowing the future that the year would bring. So I don't know if y'all have thoughts on it, but it absolutely set the tone for the year. The Katt Williams, Shannon Sharpe interview. So revealing, so funny. It was everything and a lot. Yeah.
Honestly, I think he might have to do an annual start of the year with Katt Williams, just like how we do our annual end of the year. It's like he might have to start because the way that interview feels like it was yesterday,
I know. And Shana's been doing his podcast for a number of years, interviewing athletes and, entertainers. But this interview just broke the internet like none other.
It's because Katt is a storyteller. Like, you can have celebrities on your show. That's great. They're actors. Wonderful. But Katt is a storyteller. Half the stuff he said was lies and nobody cared. I mean, I think this is where the bar was being set in January, is that we could come out here, be on the internet and tell a whole bunch of lies, make people laugh, okay? Throw in some mustard seeds of truth, okay? And we good to go. We are good to go. Solid. I think it says a lot about how 2024 shook out.
Absolutely did. That's actually the perfect analogy for it too, because it was like some people really thought he was dead ass with some of the things, but it's like not fact checked, taken at his word, entertaining, and he's brilliant. He's good at what he does. So
kept people on their toes for that interview. Yeah. And on top of that, we started the year with the George Santos on Z-Way interview. What is that man doing now? Where is he today? Because that was a whole start where we knew everything about this man. And now we haven't heard from him in probably months.
Yeah, time is up. Okay. He had his moment. I think he got charged with some fraudy things that obviously he was on the line for. But otherwise than that, like, the year was just too crazy. There's no way he ranks. It would have felt his moment would have went anyway. Like yeah.
2024. His 15 minutes went 30, and that was too long. And so now he's gone, and it's like well overdue. I mean, he lied about everything. Like literally everything. Here we go. The lies. I mean, I think this is going to be the theme for the whole show. But I mean, like, he lied about so much. And he made it. You know what I'm saying? I really believe we're all working too hard. I think that's also the point. Honestly, so many of these lessons.
Oh my God. In big and small ways, the liars, they like innovated this year. Like what an impact,
Seriously. Now y'all can always depend on me to come through with some serious political stuff, but we started the year also with over 300 bills introduced by January 29th. So I reported about this on Queer News. It was literally 29 days in. There had already been 300 anti-LGBTQ bills. More than half that carried over from the previous legislative session. But then 119 were introduced in like 29 days. The Republicans were coming in hot. They came in hot. They ended hot. Little did we know it was going to be a consistent theme.
Whole strategy for the year.
Honestly,
the culture war, rinse and repeat. It's the same strategy. It has worked. Okay.
Like,
no real domestic issues, no economic issues, no real protection of children. But they were like, if we could make somebody the boogeyman, let's do it. And it worked.
It was like the Republicans became the students that didn't take winter break off because they were just over here writing. Like, all I could think was like in Hamilton when they were just like, he wrote hundreds of these letters. And I'm like, that's what the Republicans are doing right now.
They do outwork us, but I really just feel like they're running the same play that we know, we see it, but it's just like, it's kicking like mostly white Democratic and liberal minded people's ass. Like, they run the same trick. It's the same thing. They pick a group, they demonize them, they make them the biggest thing, campaign season. And then, they win, they get these seats and all that. And then they're never held accountable for actually doing like actual work. So it's like, they just go to the machine, just change the name. Who is it this year? Okay. Just write it in and do it. So lazy. But works.
And they can lean into the homophobia so much that all the DEI stuff that continues to be thrown out the window, affecting Black people, affecting brown people, don't even get any media attention. It gets no play. It's just, we got another one. They don't even know.
Right.
Because we can just talk about being how much we hate everything, and then that's enough.
Yeah.
Wow. So let me just wrap up January with something positive, which was the Angela Bassett and Regina King kiss that shook the world. We loved it. We embraced it. We said, we know what this is, but we love to see it. And it just shocked everybody else. they couldn't handle it. The people couldn't handle it, but we loved it. We want to see Black women show Black love to each other and just leave them alone. And that's all it is. So we're going to wrap up January on that note and push it over to February, where Color Purple was still popular and doing its things, but Aunjanue Ellis Taylor made sure to let the people know that it wasn't gay enough. She came out, even though she was in the film. That's the part. I was like, she waited until that check was cut. And then she did these interviews because Color Purple came out in like December. So it was like, the check was cut. She had her things. And then she said, let me let y'all know that this is a lesbian story about a lesbian relationship. And as much as we had our little moments and we had Fantasia and Taraji P. Henson having their little cute kiki in the movie and all of that, it wasn't gay enough. And that it's a book about lesbians. And she wanted to be sure that that was known. And I love that.
Well, I mean, Aunjanue is the realist.
Of all.
Yeah. I mean, there's like Hollywood realness equals Aunjanue Ellis.
For sure.
And she family, so it makes sense.
Yes. Exactly.
Proud bisexual.
And it came after all the Taraji stuff. I feel like Aunjanue was like, and also, just, added
in case you forgot.
Also, in addition to what Taraji's saying, it's like,
let me also say this.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Sober clear. For me, my February story is one, Dime Doe, Justice for Dime Doe. In a landmark verdict, a South Carolina man was found guilty of killing Dime Doe, a Black trans woman. The milestone decision marks the first time in U.S. history that an assailant had been convicted of a federal hate crime in connection with killing of a trans person. The district assistant U.S. attorney for South Carolina said that this case stands as a testament to our committed effort to fight violence that is targeted against those who may identify as a member of the opposite sex, for their sexual orientation, or any other protected characteristics. While federal officials have previously prosecuted hate crimes based on gender identity, the case has never reached trial. So, and as an update to that story, in October, the assailant was sentenced to life in prison. So rest in peace to Dime Doe, and wanted to highlight that story from February.
And those types of moments and stories are so important because they set a precedent. And when so many Black trans folks are being attacked, you need a precedent. You need lawyers to be able to say that in South Carolina, XYZ happened. And the same thing is happening here, right? So
glad to see justice carried out.
Yes, indeed. So for me in February, it's all about Brittney Griner. She dropped her book, Coming Home. Her jersey was retired at Baylor. I felt like she was able to, I don't know, just keep winning. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, her story just continues to set a bar of what it can look like to bounce back from the worst moment of your life to something so incredibly beautiful. I mean, throughout the year, her and her wife had their first child. I mean, she's just continued to win after such a terrible situation. So I thought that was a really dope moment in February, especially since I don't like Kim Mulkey. Okay. And I felt like, Kim really kept her from having her jersey retired. And she was so long overdue for that moment. And she was able to reconcile with like all the fans that were there who came to see her, who loved her, right? But she could not go back while Kim was there. So that was just a big moment. I was happy for BG.
It's wild to see how much of an effect that Kim has. And just to see like the joy that Brittney had the whole time she was there. It was just so wholesome. But after reading the book and to see her coming and winning, I'm like, we understand that you were imprisoned in Russia. But to read everything, to hear everything, to see all of the unknowns, all of the mysteries, to how much like she had to have stuff translated and trust other people and just put all of her future into other people's hands. That is the most anxiety-ridden thing. Like, I get anxious just thinking about other folks' feelings in that, but to have to think of like, yeah, hopefully they're working and hopefully people are doing stuff to then be able to come back and we don't get to see what happens at home, obviously, but to come back and still have a semblance of a beautiful life.
Yeah.
Is so impressive.
Yeah.
Shout out to her. What a way to wrap up February. Let's go ahead on to March. In March, the best of the best things happened. Mainly because before we left March, Cowboy Carter was released. And that's really all that matters. That's really all that matters. Beyonce came out here and said, giddy up, motherfuckers. This is what we're doing. And my earwaves were filled with Cowboy Carter on repeat for months. For months, that's all I listened to. I was like, I don't want to hear any new music. I don't want to hear anything else. I want nothing but hearing Beyonce's Cowboy Carter and hearing all the people that are mad that she created a country-esque album.
Yeah. That Super Bowl commercial in February was awesome with Verizon, and then leading to, March's release of Cowboy Carter. It was great. I mean, again, we talk about it all the time. There's nobody innovating in music like Beyonce and, trying different things. And of course, big haters. But, she did it. It sounds incredible. I'm glad that she did like expectations set by saying that it's a Beyonce album, because it has, of course, country elements and everything. But it's, she expectations set there, but it didn't disappoint. I love it. Cowboy Carter is on repeat. We did our recap episode, and yeah, it was a good time.
Yes, our top 5 songs, which I went and looked back and I was like, I chose 8.
Exactly.
That's what I did.
Exactly.
That's how we make a top 5 list.
Okay.
Yeah. We choose
and just keep going. Just go casually past.
I was like, but hear me out. Yeah. But listen, and here's why. It's like, I know what I did. Yeah. I know what I did.
No.
So, and then I was like, the transitions don't count with the song. So I have to also add my favorite transitions on the album, all of that.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Just enthusiastically pass number 5. You're like, number 6. And it's just like, okay, yeah, we'll go with it. So, for me, I just wanted to mention season 6 of Love is Blind, which was premiered in February, went into March, and just highlight that AD and Clay's storyline. My God, that was something. I still think about that wedding episode when you finally see his father, when all he talked about all season was like, not cheating. And see how he acted around his father, as opposed to, and also knowing the relationship with his mother and father. And that reunion was, or the finale was crazy.
Wild.
And him deciding not to marry AD, which most of us did see coming.
Yeah.
But his mom was like the MVP. AD and Clay's mom, the MVP of that season. It was a good season. So
honestly, I'm surprised they didn't have Clay's mom come onto the season 7 reunion, because they had all the moms, and I'm like, that would have been hilarious to just have AD and Clay's mom.
Yeah,
because she was iconic, especially when Dad came in like a fucking Rolling Stone, like
right with that speech that was just going wherever. It was just, sir, land the plane. But it's it was like, oh, okay, that's why he's like this. Like, he really, and that became a theme obviously with all these Love is Blind, is like a lot of these men need therapy before anything, but certainly going on Love is Blind. But it was like, oh, that's why. There it is. That's why he is the way he is. So,
but wasn't it the best rejection she could have ever received? I mean, she has been winning ever since.
Oh my God,
truly.
Yes. Yeah,
truly.
One thing I get a lot of joy out of is like watching the IG follower count, because her IG follower count was just skyrocketing. Clay's had flatlined. Yep. It was so dead.
Truly. And now that she's dating, or allegedly dating, homeboy from the UK Love is Blind, everybody's back.
She's had a great run. What a great year for AD.
Yeah, great.
I love it for her.
I loved it.
The Gerard Carmichael show was released that month as well.
That was something. We talked about it a lot. I still just wish the parents episodes were front loaded instead of that race play crazy shit he was doing in the first couple episodes, because that was a really good episode. And if you watch none of the other, I think 8 episodes of that show, the one with his mom and dad are just, it's a must see. But overall, No race play. None of that weird stuff. No toe sucking.
Oh,
That was
the audio of it. The ASMR of him sucking white men's toes.
Yeah.
The things we didn't need.
At all.
I also didn't need to see him and what's his name? The creator.
Tyler, the creator.
Tyler. Yeah. I didn't need that. I didn't need that moment. And I like Gerard. I like him. I like his stuff usually. But
yeah.
I don't need to watch your therapy play out in real life. Just let it play out behind the therapy doors. Don't bring a camera nowhere near it. Just do your own work. Just tragic. He out here traumatizing other people.
On camera. Each person in his life got a dedicated episode though. Like he is an asshole, but it was like he put it on for the world to see. So it was just like, yeah, a lot. Shout out to Nathaniel, still a classic. That his comedy special, but this was something I was not expecting. So
yeah, it was the one thing we didn't need. Like culture creates things. We're like, yay, but this was one thing we didn't need. I don't think we needed it. I didn't. Well, let me just our statements. Anna didn't need it. Let me just say this isn't about we. This is about Anna. I didn't need that.
Even going back and looking at the episodes, I came across some of the interviews that he did after, because he did have a white boyfriend. And so then he was playing into that. I don't think they got really highlighted as much, but it was talking about like, oh yeah, let me tell you about the slave play that we do and how I refer to him as master and how I do all of these things. And we're like, stop talking.
Yeah. I saw one and it was like, he was like trying to act like we didn't get it. And it was just like, I said it on one of the episodes around that time, but it's like, I don't yuck any yums usually, but race play is the yuck I will always yuck. That's, yeah, it should go without saying not to do that. Especially even publicly. Like, come on, man, you got a platform. So I think in the same way Lil Nas X does, I feel like he has like white gays around him controlling his creative. And it's like, do this, suck toes. And it's just like, no, like you need more Black queer friends, Gerard, like you do, because terrible decisions. Terrible. No.
He's sort of like in that place Raven Simone was in a decade ago.
Yeah.
Where it was like, no.
Like on The View, where like saying wild things.
No, we gonna have to take a break for a while. We don't need to take a break. Okay. Yeah. We breaking up for a little bit. It was just the season of her life. She was just saying a whole bunch of wild stuff. And then it was The View. And then it was just like, girl, okay, we breaking up for a little bit. She on Scrabble now. She's making her way back.
Trending out with us.
Host a game show. You got me. Get some extra points. For me in March, it was about Don't Say Gay, right? There was a settlement in Florida. And it's really important. I wish it was a legal precedent, but it was a settlement. It did roll back so much of that Don't Say Gay legislation, which got polarized, as it should have been, because it was a blueprint for every other state to follow what Satan? What was it that we called him? Satan. Yes. That the Satan did. And so I thought that was really important in March. And then also in March was Next Benedict and Chevy Hill, which were also two really huge stories as it pertains to trans folks and being murdered, right? And what this looks like. And also the what is the proper word here? The difference in coverage. Next Benedict's story was absolutely everywhere, as it should have been, because it is awful, was awful, is awful. Chevy, Black trans man, barely any coverage. I barely saw coverage about Chevy, and definitely not to the level that I saw of Next. And both were so incredibly important. Chevy made such a huge impact in his community in Atlanta, the barbershop, the salon, all the give back work that he was doing down there. Next didn't deserve anything that happened. So those are my two stories from March.
Thanks for highlighting that.
The differences in coverage was loud.
So loud.
Yeah.
So loud.
And so common too. The difference in coverage.
All right. Off to April. Look at us. It's like we're doing this on a roll.
Doing
like,
a pretty good
we're
job.
doing. 10 out of 10 for us. Year 3.
No,
Year 3, we're in it.
We may have done this a time or two.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. NCAA, we hit April. We were just wrapping up the March Madness tournament. Had an iconic final that did what needed to be done. We had the NCAA women's basketball final, Iowa versus South Carolina, Caitlin Clark versus Dawn Staley, and all of the iconic folks on the team. We did name that episode the Ringless GOAT for a reason, because we kept Caitlin Clark ringless. South Carolina won 87-75. In the midst of all of that and the final coverage, it was also a great moment because Dawn actively spoke out defending trans people in sports during a post-game interview where she caught the homeboy trying to lay it up and getting the sound bites, and she called him on it, and then continued to let him know her feelings and how she supports it. And it was great to have a coach at her stature be able to openly say, like, it's fine and y'all are going to be fine.
Yeah. That was a great tournament. I think the highest, rated and watched,
Everything.
all the things. It was a really good tournament all around. Like, there was there's no way you could have had a perfect bracket. It was just nuts. And I'm looking forward to, March Madness in 2025.
I was actually pretty proud of my bracket. Just need you to know that.
Yeah, you were like, I actually.
So I was really excited because
you may not have been happy with your bracket. But.
Right, exactly.
Over here, one of my brackets was garbage, fire, dumpster. But my other bracket that did have South Carolina winning, I did a pretty solid job on that one. Because I always take some guesses early on because I'm like, not everything is going to play out the way that you want. So you got to just take some risks. And I'm like, this looks fun, this looks fun, this looks fun. And that's how we're going to shift it between my brackets. But I was very proud of it.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. You better highlight that bracket.
Thank you so much.
Talk about that bracket.
Put me in your group.
You're like, shout out to that bracket. All that. Yeah. South Carolina had an incredible win streak. Is the one time, well, no, it wasn't the one time I've rooted for any Kim Mulkey related interests, but I did, the LSU game before. What was it? The semifinal? I think they played in Iowa in the semifinal, right? Or no, that was UConn. Anyways, incredible tournament. It would set the stage for the rest of the spring, summer with women's basketball for sure. I feel like Caitlin got another big set of insufferable fans during the tournament that were like, oh, I'm going to join on. So foreshadowing for sure.
Oh, South Carolina was my top story, hands down. Now, queer folks did get included in the Title IX situation. That is worth mentioning, okay? But South Carolina, hands down, was top story in April because, Dawn Staley, GOAT, okay?
Come on.
Period.
Yeah.
Just a GOAT. And the whole tournament was just so good. It was just so good. I find myself right now completely disinterested with the NBA to the level of which I have never been disinterested before. Yeah. And just like, please,
hard watch,
right?
A bad product.
Like I go out here and I'm just like, this is what y'all watch. Where's the drama? Where's the spice? Bad. Like y'all are just crying and whining. Like this is why I can't watch men's soccer because I'm like, all you do is flop.
They do,
and then do nothing else. So I'm like, y'all play with privilege.
They do.
So it's.
I wish the NBA was shorter at least. Like they gotta cut that in half. 82 games is just too much. Like. It really is.
Like who's watching all of those?
It doesn't even matter. Like that's why the NFL is exciting because it is 17 week. Well, regular season weeks. Like every game matters. Whereas like basketball is like they don't care until after All-Star break. Like they really. I didn't
even realize that cup thing was happening. I was like, there was the cup.
It came and went.
Right.
Yeah. The Bucks won the cup. Yeah,
like,
but they decided not to celebrate this year. It's funny. Darvin Ham, who was the Lakers head coach last year, and the Lakers won the first cup. They celebrated with their Michelob. Last night they were like, "No, we're fine. We're just gonna get ready for the next game," because it was just like, who cares about this cup?
You're like, it's okay. We don't need to do
when
all
they
that.
should have celebrated because they ain't winning the big cup. You should celebrate. The Lakers did the right thing.
They are.
Take what you can get.
Not celebrating was a big mistake.
Yeah. The Lakers went downhill after that. So that one great night in Vegas, they all get like $500K, all players. Like they celebrated. The Bucks probably should have because they're not coming out of the East.
Getting out the East. Come on. You should have lived it up.
That's so funny.
Darvin doing it again.
Darvin. Calling bad plays again. Mismanaging. My April story is actually, it's an April May thing, but May is so packed. But Kendrick starts the best diss run in hip hop history by releasing Euphoria on April 30th, which was amazing in and itself. A couple days later, he releases 616 in LA on May 3rd in the morning, gave you a little morning, action. Meet the Grams later that night on May 3rd, an hour after Drake released his diss track. He was like, didn't let it rest. He was like, here you go. And then back to back, if you will. And then the very next day, released Not Like Us, and just flawless victory. Kendrick has always been criticized for like not putting out enough music or not putting up a lot of club songs or any club songs in a lot of people's mind. And he was like, I could do all those things if I wanted. And he did it in less than a week and packed up the singing rapper who was flailing at best at that point, because Drake could go into a whole thing about how he's ruined his career, but packed him all the way up flawlessly, surgically, to the point that Drake has sued UMG, but really kind of Kendrick in a way. And just, it's, no one's had the year that Kendrick's had. Like, it's just been crazy. And that sequence of songs was fun times on the internet to listen to music live and experience it live. So I wanted to shout Kendrick out for giving us that moment in time. You don't have that so much anymore in music. So shout out to Kendrick.
We just had no idea where that was going to go. Just did not foresee the takedown of Drake in such an epic way. I mean, it was just
no missteps.
Wow. No. Live performances, Kendrick's live performances this year. I mean, just
the breath control.
Every moment was just chef's kiss.
And then for a lot of us, we learned that he had been feeling this way for over a decade. And there's the Easter eggs of how they've actually been going back and forth for a while. And, I point to the fact that Drake in one of his diss songs dared Kendrick to do it. He said, please, nah, you're following through. And follow through he did. Follow through he did. Drake cut his braids after this. Okay, he is no longer cornrow poppy. He went back. He is like, I'm a nice Jewish man. He's like, he is probably, if he goes back to music, he's gonna make like yacht rock or something. But he
not yacht rock.
Is not. This isn't for you, guy. Like, it is, again, a flawless victory. My gosh. So, shout out to Kendrick.
Brilliant work. All right. May is heavier. So let's go ahead to hit to May. Anna, I'm gonna punt to you to go first.
For sure. So in Chicago, when I was a younger queer, I started going to a United Methodist affirming church, and I'm not Methodist, y'all, but I started attending a church there, and it was the most welcoming church I've ever attended in my entire life. And so I got mad love for the UMC affirming churches. Let me be very clear. And so when I saw the story that the UMC, the actual religious organization, changed basically their doctrine to say that LGBTQ clergy are welcome to be out and to be clergy, I was like, yo, this is a huge deal. Like, this is a major moment. And because they did that, they lost like 30-40% of the people who are part of the United Methodist Church.
Oh, wow.
Because the United Methodist Church is a global situation. They are more global than they are just based in the US. And those African locations was like, nah, son. And then like those other locations was like, nah, son. And so they left. But the UMC, they was like, nah, this is what we're doing. we're going to be affirming to LGBT clergy. And I think that's really dope because so many clergy and people who I've known have come up against like for real trials, like something like out of the 1700s where people actually undergo a trial. And if they're found guilty, they lose their livelihood. Like, being a pastor is like, you know, I know how people look at it, but at the end of the day, it's your health insurance. Oftentimes you are living in the church's house, right? That's next door to the church, like the church paid for that. So if you go to trial and lose everything, you lose your livelihood, you lose your retirement, you lose your house. And so many people endured that. And so for them to say, yo, queer clergy, you're welcome here is a big deal.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's, yeah. I was like, it made me, that made me think of the Southern Baptists banning women from like this, sometime this year. I had to look it up, but from them actually being a part of the ministry. So there's so many still archaic views within organized religion, but this is good that the United Methodist Church did welcome and stand on that. It's awesome. My story in May was we recorded our first in real life episode, me and Shana in New York. We did the things. Shout out to the Surface Level Podcast, Damon, Tony, and Jordan for inviting us to be a part of their incredible Voices Stay Proud campaign with GLAAD and every amazing person that made that shoot possible. Yeah, our in real life episode, our full video episode is on YouTube for folks to see. But we're very happy to actually see each other off screen for the first time in a couple years. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Shout that out.
You love to see that.
And the pictures was fire. Okay, honey. Y'all worked it. Okay, y'all
Thank you.
Fabulous.
We fit all that in too. Like behind the scenes, we were like, well, if we're going for this campaign, we should shoot an episode in person and get pictures. So yeah, we
squeezed everything into that trip within that weekend. We were like, we have to do everything at once. Everything everywhere all at once. That's what was happening.
Partied
like,
still.
We partied. We went out.
Yeah.
Chris saved lives. Like it was what we needed. And it's been great to still have that community of folks who are all there for the campaign and to see how that worked afterwards. Like we got to record at the podcast studio that Amara Jones records at from Translash Podcasts and Translash Media. And that was great to then have Minority Report go and record at the same podcast studio. And then all of us came together a week later. Chris couldn't make it, but because responsible parenting duties, but to be able to go back to an event that GLAAD was hosting before their awards. And they had like an event that was for like Black queer influencers and creators and people who are just doing the things, and to be able to go there, reunite with everybody, meet a bunch of other people that we follow on social media. Like it's just, the community was booming in that moment. And I feel like so much happened within that month between May and June. And it was just, it filled the heart.
Yeah, it's magical. It was fun. It was really cool. Other personal shout out, I saw Kid Fury's Life is Better comedy show in SF when he came through, and definitely a highlight of my year. It's a really brilliant show.
So good. So good. I saw that one here when he was in Chicago.
Yeah, it was so good.
It was
great. It was really great to see. Tearjerker, laugh, all that, all the feelings.
So yes, during May as well, there was a study on trans women's athletic disadvantages and what it actually meant, because we had so many arguments that were happening that were saying, and are still saying, that trans women shouldn't be in sports, they shouldn't be competing, it's an unfair advantage. And they went in, did this study, and found out that that was actually not true. They found that trans women athletes are at a relative disadvantage in many key physical areas relating to athletic ability and perform worse on cardiovascular tests than their cisgender counterparts. What could be the first step in fighting back, which is amazing. I was like, with so many things like on the West Coast, the volleyball teams that were refusing to play because they knew that there was a trans person on their team, the amount of folks that were trying to get them to stop playing, the laws that they've tried to pass that would have made folks have to get their genitalia checked before going out to play, and not thinking through who was doing the checking and all of that. So I hope that this study continues to showcase that there's not an unfair advantage. in any way, shape, or form. So just let it be. Let it go.
And it's just so doggone transphobic. I mean, they don't even care about trans men. You should be worried about trans men.
That's the part. That's the part. Because I'm like, man, trans women are just getting it for real. And y'all are just like, oh, yeah, well, that's not the same. And I'm like, the sexism along with the transphobia.
Yeah.
It is unrelenting. I'm sitting here like, yo, what is really going on here? It's disgusting because it makes absolutely no scientific sense whatsoever. But it's so easy culturally to demonize trans folks that it is just such an easy play. And the names of these bills are just so, they make you want to just barf. like women protecting women's right to play. Like, what are you talking about? This is like it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous.
I saw an article about there's a couple of red states. I want to say it's like South Dakota or doesn't matter. There's a couple of these states that are enacting these laws and they don't have any trans women athletes in their state. And that's what I mean by them not really working at all, but just creating a problem that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
No. And they're making life awful for those who they think are trans. They are endangering the lives of cisgender women out here who have more tea just because they have more tea, because we're talking about hormones here. And they're making those folks' lives hell because people are trying to clock them and there's nothing to clock, right? And it's just awful, the ramifications.
Absolutely. We can't move on from May without highlighting, also just staying on the sports track, without highlighting how the NBA season started, which was joy. Immense amounts of joy, mainly for us, talking about the Black queer folks. Because first we had the lesbian drama amongst Dejanay Carrington and Melissa Smith, and we got to watch that play out. That brought so many people into the game because they're like, oh, wait, there's what? NBA could never. The NBA could never. No. How fantastic it was that DeWanna Bonner passed her ex-wife on the WNBA scoring list on an assist from her fiance, Alyssa Thomas. You can't write a better headline.
You couldn't have made up a headline like that.
At all.
Sitting in that moment. So what I want you to do is make sure that you pass me the ball once we get to the mark.
Okay. We're gonna work it around this hoop, and that's what's going to happen. Angel Reese came out and did Angel Reese things. She started off the season phenomenally. Chicago was joyous
until it was.
It was until that part. We don't have to go there. We're just talking about the happy times. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about the happy
times. We're
not okay.
We were invested. We were happy. We were doing the things, and then all of a sudden,
we were all aligned. It's going on.
Couldn't even sell no more tickets. I couldn't sell none of more tickets no more. There's no more. Tragic.
It really was. They started after they fucked up bad, especially around Brittney Griner and Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. The league made it happen to provide private charter flights for all of the teams. Golden State Valkyries were announced, and we had that little investigation into the Aces that really turned out to be, based on the results of the investigation, nothing. But we'll just leave that there.
I hope they leave these self-investigations in 2024, because they be 48 hours. They're like, found nothing. Everything's fine. So, is there anything else? Or are we
I feel good like to move good. To June? Let's go to June. Let's hit Pride Month. Let's go ahead. Right. Chris, go ahead. Let's talk about Miss Rachel.
Miss Rachel. I was so glad. And has it aged well? So Miss Rachel, for those who don't know who she is a kids show. She's the head of this kids show because there's other folks that work with her, but 12.7 million followers on YouTube, probably billions of streams. She's a really good educator for, again, babies, toddlers, little children. But she put out a Pride video celebrating Pride Month, saying happy Pride to queer families, emphasizing love and inclusivity. And as you can imagine, far-right extremists, conservatives, Republicans lost their shit. And we're talking about boycotting her. To Miss Rachel responded that they should stop watching her and she's not chasing fame or views and that she's going to stand for love. Like, that's what she's going to do. She was like, don't watch me. We're fine. And I just thought that was the flyest way of standing up for us. Like, hey, and said it nice. Hey, if you don't want to watch me, that's fine. It was almost like, it's fine, baby. It's fine. But I'm going to stand on love. Like, this platform, what I preach is all about love and inclusivity, and all that. And also, as a parent, I know those conservatives and Republicans, their children control the remote. I know kids, there's no way they're going to stop watching Miss Rachel because you got beef with someone you don't know. Like, they're like, put my Miss Rachel back on and stop playing with me. Like, and I, like, please be for real. Like, anybody with kids knows they are still watching. Didn't see a dip in any of her numbers. And I just love how she stood on love because there were so many corporations throughout the year that did not, so shout out to Miss Rachel and all of her team over there.
I didn't know Miss Rachel until now, and she just seems lovely.
She's a lovely educator, okay? And there's queer folks that are in her videos, and like, it's just like, she's like, this ain't the first time I put out a Pride video either. She does that every,
look at the
last couple years.
That just happened with you, Anna.
It's wonderful.
I'm amazed.
Okay?
She's
polite, so nice,
She's just bubbling. Her whole
wonderful
page is just bubbly. She's like the white Tabitha Brown. She's like the
pretty much.
I mean, yeah, that's basically her.
Is that what I'm getting?
Is she, no cooking, but just children. She is just kids video. Tab does everything and children's videos now, but shout out to Tab. But yep, loves the kids. Great for early childhood development. She was a former teacher. Her and her husband, who's on there, produce these videos with their friends, and it's inclusive. It's great. Love all families, and the kids love her. Okay,
I love it. You better have 12 million followers on subscribers on YouTube,
girl.
Make the world a better place. Teaching the babies. I love this.
The babies. All families.
Oh man,
all families.
That's too funny. Too funny. Anna, you go ahead for the next story.
June.
For me, June was sort of like I'm making it. I think I'm making it. We got to celebrate Pride in DC, and they brought us out, and I was on the float in the DC Pride Parade, and it was just a wonderful experience. And my wife was able to come. We had a booth at their Pride, and it was just so awesome.
Amazing.
To be thought of in that way, to invite us to come out and cover it, and to be around other queer folks who are also doing great work for the community. And then coming home and being able to MC one of the Pride floats here in the city, and to have the Palestinian protesters stop right in front of our float, and me having the mic, I had like the control of the moment. And we ended up stopping the float, listening to their demands, turning off our music, having them do their thing. They did their thing. They moved out the way, and we continued with the parade, and the po-po didn't go crazy. It was great. And it was really just like a huge highlight for me in June. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh,
because that moment could have shifted quickly.
Oh, that moment could have been a whole, on every news channel from here, because in New York, that's just not how the story went.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I was really proud of us.
Yeah. Anna DeShawn for conflict resolution. Okay. Because listen,
it's so
that's
true.
how you do it. Just be empathetic and
I was like, hear them out, take the moment. Yeah. It's really only going to take a few minutes. If you decide to escalate it, it takes way longer. So
come on. Yeah. We trying to get to the end of this parade. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And and the first thing I said was, Pride started with a riot. Don't act like it didn't.
There we go.
That part.
Better respect it. Give them a moment.
Love that. That's an incredible moment.
All right. Story that I'll wrap up June with was just reminding that the NBJC did some research. They did a Black Facts study and found that even Black people who don't support queer rights oppose attacks on LGBTQ plus equality. So in one of the first of its kind research moments, they were able to pull this together with additional support from Family Equality, GLSEN, the Human Rights Campaign, National Center for Lesbian Rights, all of the people that we needed in here to do a research that surveyed 1,300 Black registered voters in order to seek explicitly to gauge attitudes among Black people on Black LGBTQ plus people and issues. And that's when they came across the results that it's like, yeah, we may be against it, but they're not here for the attacks. And that's on one thing. We're not going to support violence in this community and not pull those things together. And so it was super interesting to be able to see the breakdown of what was important to folks, what wasn't important to folks, recognizing who they have in their community and the people that they know. And it was like one of the most detailed research things that happened. So shout out to the NBJC. They're a big fam here and we love them. And also, we gained another one. Amber Ruffin came out as queer on the last day of Pride Month, and it was in the best, most wonderful way. So we just love it. We love it here. All right, let's go ahead and shift to July. And Anna, I want you to start this because you were there. You were on the ground. You were in the space to talk about the story.
Y'all, I didn't know if I was gonna go. Okay, I didn't know. I was not planning on it.
And the funny thing is I was texting you that day to be like. Yeah. To tell me that you were like, maybe.
I'm telling you, like, I was not convinced that my Black body needed to be in that room with that orange man. I was not convinced. I ended up talking with my dad, and he was like, you gotta go. You have to be in the room and report back to the people. And I was like, do I? I still wasn't completely convinced, but he was right, per usual. And we stood in line. It was a long line, y'all. And he was over an hour and a half late. And, he told us that, Kamala turned Black. And let me tell y'all something.
Forgot about that.
Sitting in that room. Wild. I never thought I'd be in a room with Trump ever. Never, ever, ever was on my bucket list to show up anywhere he was at. And he was exactly who he is. And I think what really blew me about NABJ were the Black people who thought he was going to somehow be different. That somehow his narcissism was going to go away and his ego was just going to fly the coop just because he was going to be with some Black people. I'm like, what world are y'all living in? He is consistent. This man is very consistent.
Yeah.
I mean... through and through, okay. True to it, okay. True to the code. No, it was wild. It was something to see in real time, the ridiculousness of it all. And it was just really disappointing that NABJ even continued to extend the invitation, given how his ignorance just continued to escalate. Because I understand that they invited him in the past and he declined the invitation. And my question is, why were you inviting him then? And why are we continuing to invite him to this space? Like, this is not a political convention. It's a journalism convention for Black journalists. This is not a space where we have to give equal time, equal measure. These are not things that we have to do here. And what so much of it annoyed me, but what really annoyed me is that because they invited him and because it became such a spectacle, people who were there to be in community had to work. Because now this is a newsworthy moment. I'm sitting around people who now have to report back to their newsrooms in real time about what's going on. And I just thought that was incredibly unfair to have to make Black journalists do that type of work at a time where you're there to really be in community, right? To really get away from the newsrooms where you are the 1%, where you are the one speaking for Black people all the time. And so that whole thing was a bunch of BS. NABJ lost a lot of respect. And, we learned that Kamala turned Black. Yeah. What a moment.
With it too is that, as you said, like, he's consistent. There's nothing but game tape out there as to what he's going to do on these interviews. And like, I feel like they wanted to be able to say, like, they have this gotcha moment or ask him the hard questions. And all he does is slip shit and just, you know what I mean? Like, he is a prolific probably one of the best liars we've seen, certainly on camera. Like the amount of lies a minute is like it's crazy. Like
his media training is superb.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
He knows what he's doing.
What color is the sky? Doesn't matter.
Let me tell you about the sky that I have. I have the best sky.
Doesn't matter.
The best sky.
I have the best sky ever.
You got the biggest sky of all
the biggest sky of all time. Nowhere else in the galaxy.
It doesn't. He just would say something else. He's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The birds are still flying. I mean, this is just what he does. He's been trained by some of the very best. Mm-hmm. And whether he listens all the time or not, he does what he wants. And I think NABJ is the ones that took the hit here. I think the Black journalists in the room are the ones who were probably most impacted. And I just really think it's unfortunate that that there's Black folks who think Black respectability is still going to save us. You know, that's all it was to me. Is we have to invite him because we always have. No, you do not. We do not have to do what we have always done when the game is not the same. And there's nothing normal about what's happening right now. So no, you don't. And this is why I can't work for nobody. This is why I can't work for nobody.
Raggedy decision making. Right with it. Mm-hmm. Speaking of this isn't normal. On July 21st, we had that unforgettable Sunday afternoon. President Biden announced he was stepping down and out of the 2024 presidential race. He endorsed Kamala Harris, just giving her just a little bit over 100 days to campaign. Just highlights from it. I think what followed was extraordinary. Like it was everyday people, volunteers, young voters, community organizers, movement workers, all banding together, instant energy and commitment to trying to get behind Kamala, fundraise, all of the things. Like that was, I mean, you know, after June's presidential debate with Biden, it was looking grim. And the decision that Biden made was super late, and he had promised that he wouldn't seek, well, I don't know if he promised it, but he said he wasn't going to seek a second term before. So I wish this came sooner, but it did energize Democrats and just people who oppose fascism and Trump. So that was a good time. I liked the weeks that followed that announcement because we were all really energized. You saw a lot of people get politically engaged and try to do as much as we can in those 100-something days. So yeah, that was quite an afternoon.
What a moment.
What a moment. Yeah. Did y'all think it was ever going to happen? Because there was speculation weeks after, you know, the disastrous debate that Biden had that he needed to step down. But I didn't think it would happen. So when it did, it was like, oh, okay. Well, like, what do we need to do? Like, where do we send money? Where do we throw it behind? But did y'all think that that would ever actually happen?
No, I didn't think his ego was going to allow him to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially because like in an interview like a month before or something, he was like, absolutely not. Am I stepping back? And then it was just kidding.
They did try to do a mini like Joe still got it after the debate where it was like, y'all please. He was just like, I just can't debate after 7 p.m. or something with like nighttime minutes. Like I don't know what he was saying, but they really did try and, you know, make it seem like it wasn't that bad. And then it was like, okay. So yeah, what a time. This year, you know, unprecedented weeks in news, you know,
honestly,
left and right.
Honestly. And at this time, the Olympics started. Had a lot of great things that happened. A lot of gender identity controversies that happened, especially among boxers Imane Khelif and Lin Yuting over gender eligibility. That was annoying. Italian boxer Angela Carini got hit once and said, I'm out. I don't like this.
Girl, don't be a boxer. You lost.
I am out. I don't like this. Lin Yuting continued to face scrutiny It was just a mess, but people have showed out afterwards. So it was great. Sha'Carri Richardson, the U.S. women's basketball team, down to the wire. What a fucking game. Oh my God. That last 3-pointer, that was a 2-pointer. And
yeah.
What a fucking game. Kept me stressed the whole time. Y'all kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time. Fantastic. Simone Biles is back and did what she needed to do. And now y'all can't say shit to her. So just leave her alone. Leave her alone and doing the things. And on the queer side of things, Griner had put some protections within the village to make sure that people were protected throughout. So, just the range of things that were happening. But I think the Olympics were a great win for all of us.
Yeah. One time we all rooting for America,
The minimum. I was like, the memes that were like, here was my month to be a patriot and now I'm done. Too accurate.
Every 4 years. Every 4 years.
I'm telling you. So, the Olympics were epic. I really enjoyed them this year.
I like them a lot.
Very good.
Not the opening ceremony, but the Olympics. Yeah.
Yes, the Olympics. Yeah. And as somebody who studied radio, TV production, and I went to Drake, and we have Drake relays, and we would do the coverage of Drake relays. It was one of the largest track meets in the country. And I just know what goes on from that very small thing, production-wise, to something like the Olympics. It was just, I am so incredibly impressed because my mind can't even wrap around the number of logistics, the number of camera people, like the number of people just carrying cables. Yep. around the Olympic Village. I mean, there's just so much that goes into covering the Olympics that I was just so incredibly impressed, because whoever thought that we needed Snoop Dogg, I thank them, because I didn't know I needed Snoop Dogg, in a bathing suit with Michael Phelps. I didn't know I needed that, but I did. I did, and it was phenomenal television.
Yeah. What a career for Snoop. My God.
What a time. What a time.
May we all be so lucky.
Okay.
Right. What an arc for Snoop.
Because how does he stay out of all of this? I don't know. His wife, I can't think of her name. I can't think of her name, but
I couldn't even confirm it if you said it, honestly.
Clearly, she is the Rock, because somehow he is unscathed. And I don't know.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
Well, getting into August, but still Olympic, I wanted to mention my top story was Just Caring Rawling and Elon Musk were named in a cyberbullying lawsuit filed by Algerian boxer Imane Khelif after her Olympic win. As Anna mentioned, transphobia affects cisgender women and people, and this was like on the largest stage. J.K. Rowling and Elon were amongst a lot of people who came out and misgendered Imane Khelif, started being transphobic all online. And I am so glad that they're suing them, because, they need to pay up and then just also, again, set precedent. So we'll see how that develops in 2025 and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Pay up and shut up. God.
Okay, shut up.
Mine for August was the DNC coverage. We ended up being able, our media passes were approved for that. And I was able to cover that moment where VP Kamala Harris accepted the nomination to run for president of these here United States. And it was quite the moment. It was quite a moment being there. The energy in the city, the energy in the stadium, the energy at McCormick Place, all the things that were happening, people mobilizing around this political moment. Like you were saying, Chris, I mean, it was pretty incredible to be there. It was also really dope to see LGBTQ leaders who were there. I wish more were on stage. I wish the Democrats wouldn't have shied away from trans rights. I think that should have been a moment. I talked about that. I think that really helped to lose them the election. But that moment at DNC, Julia, you couldn't have told me she wasn't gonna win. Okay, the energy. I mean, you couldn't have told me that she wasn't gonna pull it out after that convention. But it was incredible to be there. Meeting Joanne Reed, number one, okay, on the list for 2024. What a moment. And I'm really glad I was there. It was so emotional. I was so overwhelmed. Cried the first day, called my wife, like, what am I doing here? But it was a really, really dope experience. And yeah, it's just something I won't ever forget. Not to mention my car was in the middle of a crime scene one night. That was a turn. Which was a whole nother thing. But yeah, y'all.
You took a turn. You got off a ramp.
What?
Because I can't forget it. It was so wild.
Took the car.
What do you mean?
and I meant to tell the story out loud, and I just never had. Let me tell y'all, I was leaving out of there. So the United Center is in the hood, okay?
Yes.
And so leaving out, I use Spot Hero to park all the time. There was a lot. It was like a couple blocks away. Fine, whatever. There'll be other people walking in this direction. It'll be fine. We'd leave out one night, and all I see are red and blue lights. And I'm like, no, say it ain't so. And then I'm walking up and I see them pulling red tape. And I said, not the red tape, not the red tape. No. And because there's a difference between the red tape and the yellow tape, y'all. Yep. Okay, I'm from Chicago. There's a difference. Okay, I just want y'all to know. And I'm walking up and I was like, wait, my car is over there. They're like, yeah. So your car is in the middle of a crime scene and you're unable to retrieve it today? Today. And y'all, it's 10 o'clock at night. The convention goes until 10 o'clock, right? It is bedtime. This is not the time to be standing out on the west side of Chicago without no car. And they were just like, yeah. So basically what happened, the guy who escaped from Mississippi, there's some guy who escaped jail. He ran to Chicago and he was just been hiding out in Chicago. And then he decided to go get some food during the DNC. And
he said they're going to be busy. I'm good. I'm fine.
There could not be more cops in the condensed area outside of the DNC.
Feel safe.
Are you not watching the news?
No, he said y'all are worried about the DNC, not me.
He said, is Michael Jordan back at the United Center?
What this man was thinking. Ninja, you get somebody else to go get your food. Yeah, the cop spotted him. He held himself up in the Sharks, or was it Sharks or Subway restaurant? He just held himself up. He was there for like 14 hours. Oh, so we all had to get Ubers to our homes. Somebody was in the suburbs. They had just had a baby. Wife wasn't answering the phone. It was tragic, y'all. My car was in the middle of a crime scene because this man decided he was hungry. I was like, I cannot. So yeah, that happened.
Nuts. Did they pay you?
And I had to come back and do all that coverage. So I had to come back the next day. It was wild times.
They pay your Spy Heroes.
I need to know.
Oh, Spy Hero. They played me so bad, but they gave me a little credit on the next day. I was like,
what do you mean a little credit?
I can't get my car. Credit. Okay. Yeah, they gave me a credit, and I was happy to use it the other day. So it was
you're like, I did use it. Redeemed. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Couldn't have called that one, but the DNC.
The DNC. That was quite a turn.
That is hilarious.
No, thank you for that story. That is nuts.
It was nuts. And let me just also be clear, y'all, I don't live nowhere near the United Center.
No.
So the price of that dang on Uber there and the price of the Uber to go get my car to go do the coverage the next day. Okay.
Friend.
Crazy.
My gosh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of legal things, I'll go to my story of Dearica Hamby. Her lawsuit against the Los Angeles Sparks. She filed a federal discrimination and retaliation lawsuit against the WNBA against the Las Vegas Aces, claiming that they treated her unfairly when they found out that she was pregnant because they thought that it was on purpose and she had just signed the extension with the Aces. And then all of this drama came in. Becky speaking out like, what are you talking about? We love you here. Don't know where she got that from. That's crazy. So she went over to the Los Angeles Sparks and really nothing ever really came of this. It just kind of went away after she felt that coaches questioned her commitment and that she really wasn't in it to win it, basically. So that also happened
after that little investigation.
All the investigations. It was back to back for the Aces, and somehow they just all went away.
Winning helps.
Winning will do it.
Don't it though?
Winning will do it.
It was like when you have the owner of 2 major sports teams in Vegas be your owner.
Yeah.
That helps.
He's like, what's happening? Don't tell me. I don't care.
Right. He's like, call the lawyer.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it. Y'all coming over for dinner? Whatever.
He's like, I own the Raiders. Okay.
Okay.
Please.
I own the Raiders. He's like, doesn't he own the A's as well? Like,
no.
Oh, no. That never happened.
But
okay.
they are going to Vegas.
Oh, well, it's only a matter of time.
Everything in Oakland.
Yep. All right.
Well, September. Speaking of federal indictments, Diddy was arrested in New York.
What a transition.
Yeah.
What a classic. Well done.
On
the 10 out of 10, friend.
And I guess I'll leave it there. His trial is May 2025. Diddy was arrested. And
he was arrested.
A lot came out. The year was a lot.
Much. Wow.
He was finally arrested in September.
Oh my gosh. Thailand becomes the first Southeast Asian country to legalize marriage equality. Their king signed it into law on September 24th. Only 2 other countries in Asia recognize same-sex marriage, which are Taiwan and Nepal, and that was a huge day. You love to see it.
Shout out to Thailand.
Indeed. I mean, for me, when I saw Chris, you had the Diddy story. I'm like, yeah, that's about it. I mean, he took over.
Wall-to-wall coverage. Okay.
The coverage never stopped.
It has not.
And, oh gosh, if it wasn't for Cassie. Wow.
Cassie had the quickest turnaround to get her money. And then said, and now wreak havoc. Listen. Cut me my check and go ahead and wreak havoc. Thank you so much.
Wow. Right. Yeah. Goodness. But for me, it's September. It was Queer News winning Best LGBTQ podcast. With the Black Podcasting Awards, which was for our 3rd year in a row.
8.
Which was pretty dope. And so that was our big story for September for sure.
Big story.
Big awards. See it. Come on, 3P.
Go on. Like the Bulls out here.
Hey, United Center. No.
Come on.
Tying it all in. Look at us tying it all in. We love it. All right, let's head on over to October. I feel like all I did was pick sports, and I didn't realize that I did this. But it's okay. So
it was a big year for sports.
It really was, especially women's sports. So I'm just like excitement around this. Except for this part where almost all the WNBA coaches got fired. Like at this point, we had only heard about like 4. So this is when Teaspoon unexpectedly got fired from the Chicago Sky. I want a whistleblower who saw what happened. I need to know because the city of Chicago loved Teaspoon. So it had to be something that was behind the scenes, and I still need to know what it was. Kurt Miller, who was formerly with the Connecticut Sun, was with the Los Angeles Sparks. He got let go. Tanisha Wright, I think we released a story on the day that she was fired from the Atlanta Dream. All of them. And then I think we ended the year with like 8 out of the 12 teams. Out of the 14, whatever teams, getting fired. It was a lot of, it like ended the year with like 8 coaches being fired. And in the midst of that, we got to watch Love is Blind season 7, which was also just mess.
Yeah. Netflix has us on that two Love is Blind.
Well, it was 2 plus the UK one. We didn't even talk about the UK one.
And you know what? I actually haven't watched the UK one. I gotta watch the UK one.
I was very into it because it was nice to have like a fresh Love is Blind group again that like followed the rules.
Oh,
all the new people don't follow the rules, but to have the group that followed the rules and were invested, it was really nice to be able to watch. Plus British accents, so I was in it the whole time.
Yeah, Americans just suck at everything, huh?
Yeah.
We're aware as a company.
We're aware of this.
Terrible as a company. Anna, do you want to do yours? I feel like
I could do mine.
Yeah.
Second Sunday came out a winner at the Signal Awards. Second Sunday is, man, this was Second Sunday's year, to be honest.
Honestly, they were doing it.
I mean, I'm so grateful to produce that pod and for it to have come to life the way it did. I mean, I'm just blown away by it. So yeah, Second Sunday came out a winner. But then I know I could be the serious one. It's the Virgo in me. But when I saw that OVO Jones was in a relationship, because he is about the finest Black gay man on the face of the planet. Okay. I met him in person one time, and he is just as beautiful in person. Child, just sweet. Just like, good grief. And so when I saw he was dating the guy from the Upshaws, I was like, that's cute. We need some Black gay entertainer love out here. And I was like, and they have not disappointed. Okay, the TikToks, the constant social media, I have been here for it ever since. So when I saw that, I was very happy.
Two very beautiful and talented humans. I was like, that, yes. My story, I wanted to acknowledge October 7th marked 1 year since the Hamas terrorist attacks in Israel and start of the genocide in Gaza. As a reminder for folks, Hamas is a Palestinian armed group and political movement in the Gaza Strip. And on October 7th, 2023, attacked Israel, killing 1,200 people and taking more than 250 hostages. This triggered a massive Israeli military offensive in Gaza, turned genocide. As of today, more than 45,000 Palestinians have been killed. So we have not only extreme loss of life that's still ongoing, but it had major political and social impacts globally. One of the things I wanted to highlight was the infighting between Black and Palestinian Americans that would grow leading up to Election Day. And Biden and Harris continued support of Israel and supplying weapons. This is a decades-long conflict, and we are not experts here, but we just wanted to acknowledge that you do not need to genocide whole groups of people. And I think that should go without saying, but needs to be said. So wanted to acknowledge that in October.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, November.
No.
Oh, November. Q4.
Q4 was just a mess.
Like, you got to go ahead and start, Anna. Go ahead. Just go ahead.
Yeah, she lost, y'all. She lost. And I have not been right since, okay? I just started making a TikTok, and then I didn't make a TikTok for a month. And then I did, and then I ain't gone back. I'm just, her pen's still on my desk. I'm just,
the morning.
Just not over it.
Look, grief moves at your own time and your own schedule, okay?
And can I also be very clear? I'm not sitting here someone who was in love with Kamala Harris. No, it was the disdain for the orange man. The fact that there was some level of potential hope for something other than evil to be leading this country again. But in November, Kamala Harris lost by a lot. And lost the
electorally. Look, I was like electorally.
Electorally, but lost the popular vote too. Democrats ain't lost the popular vote.
I know. She didn't get smoked though. Going back to it and having the numbers up now. Popular vote wise, yeah, they lost 77 million for Donald Trump. Kamala ended with 74 million, which when it all went down, like the headlines were that she got smoked. And you know what I'll hold on to, and also need to also mention that the Democrats lost the Senate. They don't have control of the Senate. It's 53 to 47. House, I'm going down the line. I'm going down the line here. The House, 220 to 215. Governors, there's 27 Republicans, 23 Democrats. Obviously, they have the Supreme Court. So complete victory for all of them. But I will hold on. I know we did the Fall Olympics, the Blame Games at post-election that we always do every 4 years, but I guess I will hold on to that 74 million of y'all do have common sense. And it's not as big as it felt in those weeks after the election, that it felt like just like so many people voted for him when they did, but I will hold on to the 74.9 million folks that did vote for Kamala Harris, because my gosh, I'll have to hold on to the little things in the years to come. That's for sure.
I appreciate that, Chris. Because child, that electoral college, okay, it is an ugly thing to see. Thank you for the popular.
That's all I could give.
Yeah.
Because once Pennsylvania and Michigan, it was early in the night. We knew.
Yeah.
Early election.
Early, very early.
Very early.
When we were telling the story of like, where were you when you had the news? I was like, I was puddled on my couch with my friends. And I was like, all we can do is hold each other.
Yeah, that's smart.
That's all we can do. That's all we can do.
Smart.
And the Republicans did not skip a beat either, because as soon as it was announced that Sarah McBride was going to be the country's first trans congressperson, they said, guess who's not using these bathrooms? The Republicans. Republican Nancy Mace introduced a measure in Congress sought to ban trans people from using the bathroom. It's still an ongoing thing, but it's not leaning in a positive direction. So
it's disgusting, right? Because it just leads to another precedent, right? We're talking about federal buildings here, right? Sarah McBride will have her own private bathroom. So worst case scenario, right? She's not going to be able to use the restroom in the federal office, but she can go back to her office. Now, her office is nowhere near where everything takes place, but does she have a private bathroom? She does. But the other trans and non-binary people who walk the halls and work in the Capitol, right? This is just so incredibly problematic. I saw this picture that depicted a white woman in the 60s saying whites only, and Nancy Mace, you're right, saying women only. And the polarization of these two pictures and these two white women is just so very real and telling of this country. And honestly, I don't know where we're at right now in this moment. I don't know if this is the crescendo and we're coming back to see the light very soon, or we are just at the beginning of this onslaught, which feels like it's been going on for a very long time, which it has, right, in the last 8 years. But is this just the beginning, right, of this moment? Because I'm not sure yet. History tells us that it takes a long time, right? And the Democrats and liberal ways of thinking have been my reality and my generation's reality, right? That we have left all of this in the past. But when moments like this, these shifts happen, they last for quite some time. So I'm really strapping myself in for what is to come next, because if history is telling us the way this thing is going to look, we are in for it. This is a generational moment.
It is. There's always throughout history backlash after progress. And it seems like we are in the beginning stages of that backlash. And I don't know, it is going to be generational shifting, which I guess we have to come to terms with it, but I don't know. We're just going to have to make it through.
I never thought I was going to have to use the things that I heard. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, as a 41-year-old person, I never thought I would have to use some of the strategies that our elders have told me about in my real life. Like the ways in which they would protect themselves, the ways in which they would be community, the way that they would show up. Child, when we started coming around talking about let's post this on Facebook, people would look at us sideways 20 years ago. Like, what are you talking about? You better pick up a phone, send a text message. Like, there was nothing about being out loud in public that was appealing to people, in the community, because they was like, that's just not how they worked, right? And in this moment, how much of life can be public and you still feel protected, right, out here in the world, when you have a Mark Zuckerberg going to kiss the ring at Mar-a-Lago, making a $1 million donation to Trump's inaugural fund, right? You have these very rich, wealthy people kissing rings of people who absolutely disdain my humanity. So I just never thought that would be my reality in this way.
Yeah.
It felt like it was going to be all good. We had hoped that it would be all good, especially being of a certain age. I'm 36 this year. It felt all good. The Obama years seemed like so long ago, but Coretta told us every generation got to fight. Like, I think we just thought that we had hoped that it wouldn't be this, but they gonna get a fight from us. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, either way. So, because we know they're wrong. So there's 74 million of us, and probably more because a lot of people stayed home too, that know this isn't right. And, I hope that we're able to mobilize in the ways that we did when Kamala was announced, and past that to consistently, like, at least show up for each other, because it's about to get crazy. So
it's about to get real crazy, y'all.
Yeah. I told y'all, 2024.
But in positive news.
You got something positive, Shana?
Yeah, there you go. Love the boys too. There you go. Pick us up.
Please help us.
I was like, Wicked was released in November.
It would be Wicked. You're like,
we had Wicked.
So here to plug Wicked, that had every marketing campaign known to man. Like, they had a 90s big movie rollout. Like, they were everywhere. I want to see it.
And to have our Black queer woman with the micro braids at the front was the only thing that felt like it canceled out the beginning of the month to the end of the month. It was like, but we got Wicked. Yay.
Hold on. Even I will hold on to Wicked. I'm just like, oh my God.
I was like, Cynthia, thank you.
Thank you
for bringing us joy and all of the talent that we needed to see and hear on a regular basis, because the way that y'all did this rollout was we couldn't see you even if we tried. Like, there was no way we weren't going to see you.
I can't even imagine how much the studio spent between the Color Purple's rollout. I have not seen Oprah that much on television, on my internet, since the Oprah Winfrey show. Yep. Oprah ain't been outside this much in a decade. Okay. Yep. Between the Color Purple rollout and Wicked's rollout, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Look,
okay.
These annual musicals are really getting us through the end of the year.
They're getting us through the year, period. Okay. I never knew I needed to see Ariana Grande so much ever in my life. Ever. When she was talking on interview, I was sat there and I thought to myself, have I ever listened to her talk? And I said to myself, nope, never had the need, desire, interest to ever hear her talk. And here she is. And wonderful. All of it was just superb. Their chemistry seemingly doesn't seem fake. It seems real. It seems genuine. And to y'all's point, we needed all of it. Okay.
Honestly.
All of it. I even saw somebody make a story about Cynthia and Lena and how Lena's lackluster sharing or promotion of Wicked. And I thought to myself, how much promotion have either of them ever done about each other? I mean, I think it was also a moment of like, oh, we're talking about Lena and Cynthia because it's been mum's the word for the last
so many people, so many friends had no idea. It's like community. We all were here and we're like, and people are like, wait, Cynthia and Lena Waithe? We were like, Ben, what do you mean?
We're like, for years.
Years. Like, what you mean? And it's like, every time they do something, they do repost it to their story. It's not like an obsessive compulsive, because not everybody does that, but they do always repost whatever each other is doing. It always happens.
Always.
That's the only reason I know that they're still together, is because the reposting happens. So I'm like, congratulations. We love to see that. And that's the type of relationship that I appreciate. It's like, y'all are out here minding your business behind the scenes, doing whatever you do. Fantastic. And you see just the glimmer of support and hope. And I'm like, they're still together. They're still good. Hooray. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So many friends had no idea. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up this year. Let's go. I feel like, Chris, you have to start with
I'm just gonna pick out just Nikki Giovanni passing away this month. Black lesbian poet, writer, activist, icon, who published over 24 volumes of poetry, essays, children's books throughout her career. I'm glad to see all of the clips and quotes trending, and a new generation of folks being introduced to her work. Shana, I don't know if you remember, because Nikki Giovanni taught at Virginia Tech for 35 years and lived in Blacksburg, but do you remember when the Virginia Tech massacre happened, and she had this speech that was just incredible. And I know might be a Virginian thing, but that's one of the many things that she's done that, you know, specifically, like, it burns in my mind because the atmosphere in Virginia after the massacre.
No, absolutely. I 100% remember that. And that was
literally picked up.
It was like I knew of her, and then when she did that speech, and then she was actually
she flagged her. She had told
she was the main speaker at my college graduation.
Oh, really?
And I got to talk to her afterwards. Amazing. She had caught a beach ball. And I went up and I like made a joke about the fact that she had like caught the beach ball, and then I got to stand there and talk to her for a moment.
That's amazing.
And it was great to be able to go from this person who I had read about to the woman putting the words behind the massacre and making sense of our grief.
Yeah.
And then to have her physically in our space, and like we were pin drop of how we were at graduation with her speaking. Like it was incredible.
That's incredible. Yeah, she was actually well, I was gonna say that she had actually tried to flag down folks about the shooter in the months before because he was one of her students, and you know, really calling attention to mental health and you know the motivations behind the shooting and everything. But just a cultural icon, a revolutionary figure is going to influence generations to come and have influenced so many people. So rest in peace to Nikki Giovanni.
All right,
December just. I just don't even understand. We're not even done with the month. You understand?
We still got weeks. We still got weeks.
We do.
We had to get this in before we went on vacation.
Yeah.
We have a couple weeks.
Gosh. And speaking of, you know, Nikki Giovanni, I got to enjoy her film, right? What is it? Going to Mars? Mm-hmm. Her film about Mars and her obsession with space and Black folks, right? And I just thought it was so well done. And I learned so much from people like a Nikki Giovanni, who at one point in her life was freaking having conversations with James Baldwin. Okay. So right. Like the span of her life,
and like shocking him. And you know, not a lot of people can have conversations with James Baldwin where like
speechless.
You could counter and he could be like, you're right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You know, I love those interviews.
Yes. All of that. I mean, like her impact, right? I think is just so significant. And when someone like a Nikki Giovanni transitions, I think it also reminds us just how important poetry is to our lives and how much written work is to our lives, and investment, like how important investment into that art form is so incredibly important, because her work is so critical to liberation work. Yeah, such a big loss for so many. Yeah. For me, y'all told me I had Luigi.
You get Luigi.
You felt right. Luigi. It felt right. I was like, you probably covered some of this, talked about the things. I was like, from the news lens, it felt right.
Yeah. Luigi, wild. You know, Luigi is just a wild cat. A Ivy League education, right? A privileged individual. All the education anyone maybe even wants to desire for themselves. He has it. 26 years old. Indicted on 11 charges now, first-degree murder, and they're tacking on a terrorism charge now. Because other people have risen up after him. Yes. New York City has found images of other CEOs with threats on their life. This is all about, y'all already know, listening to this, United Healthcare CEO, right? Brian Thompson. Luigi is being accused of murdering him in New York City in the middle of the day in plain sight. Okay. And for some reason, he needed McDonald's. For some reason. He decided.
Like the same of what you just dealt with at the...
I'm telling you, these criminals, I just think they get exhausted, mentally exhausted. Okay, this is like there becomes a mental break.
DoorDash, you know,
and we just
oh man,
all the things he had to do to get out of New York City, all the things you had to do, and you decide McDonald's is the place for you to go. Okay, I mean,
place the bike to get to the park to like map this out, and then
McDonald's
that double quarter pounder just.
And the internet has been wild ever since. I mean, I think the disdain for healthcare and insurance in this country has become very clear and very evident. People's lack of care about somebody's life being stolen. I mean, I think it just says so much about people's disdain for the 1%, people who are wealthy. Yes, there's a lot of hate and disdain around that. There will never be sympathy for a rich person. I don't care how much you desire maybe to be rich. Okay, I'm not ashamed. Okay, bring me the money. Okay, I am interested in generational wealth. And it was very clear people just had no humanity around the fact that this man is a human being with a family. And when I think about somebody's kids, and when I think about just a very simple saying, my mother would say, treat people how you want to be treated. I don't want anybody shooting me down in the street, right? I think about what does it mean to be in somebody else's shoes. His children have no idea what y'all are talking about. All they know is their dad not coming home. So, I mean, I just think it's just a wild situation to just add like a black cherry on top of this wild black cake that is 2024. I just think Luigi, and then the memes about him being good looking, the conversations around him being gay, secretly gay. I mean, child, it was just coming from all areas. I did a little research because I was like, let me find out a little bit more about what's going on with Luigi. He's received 40 emails since being in jail, 53 pieces of mail, and 158 deposits into his commissary account. I want y'all to know Luigi got more money than y'all right now, okay? 158 deposits on his commissary, okay? So Luigi out here making a statement. It ain't gonna change healthcare at all. Matter of fact, it's not. CEOs are probably gonna get a raise now.
Probably gonna double down.
They're gonna double down on their next contracts.
So a little security force, all that. Yeah, I know. This is about greed. I mean, and people being upset with, again, as you mentioned, the companies, the 1%, the just overrun of greed. So we'll see how this turns out in the new year for Luigi.
Oh, Luigi going down fast. Okay. Yeah. They about to extradite him. Somehow the justice system moves rather expeditiously when it comes to the Luigis of the world. Okay. He about to be in New York by tomorrow. They talking about arraignments. He is going down faster than the Titanic at this point. Yeah. His family hasn't come in to visit him. Okay. Luigi on his own out here.
Wild.
Season finale of America.
Season finale. I was like, adding to that, I'm going to jump on one of Chris's stories. Because one, Golden State Valkyries building a team. They did the things.
They did.
Recruited the people. Congratulations. Sorry to Seattle. The Supreme Court heard United States versus Scrimetti. It was a case challenging Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for transgender minors. This was huge because we had Chase Strangio, the first openly transgender lawyer who was able to go and argue in court. So many of our family and friends were able to be there, to be in the room, to talk about the items. If you didn't listen to our recent episode with AJ Hikes, they were there. They got to tell us more about the details and things like that. But just knowing that this decision won't come until late June, sometime in June. So we'll definitely have to wait. But this is a big moment for not only representation, but talking about the fact of how this could weaken broader anti-discrimination protections, because this isn't just an LGBTQ issue. It is, as they're going in, it's a sex discrimination issue, and it could have a lot of precedents there. So keep an eye out on this. Want to be sure that we wrap up the year remembering that this is happening.
Yeah, it's a big case. This is a big case. It's one of those historical cases Lambda Legal takes on. Yeah. That are going to make a big difference. It's one of those generational cases. And we've got a conservative Supreme Court. I mean, I think the writing is all on the wall about what's going to happen here. Yeah. I think it is about states, advocates, organizations doing the work to protect their states in particular and the people in their state. We're going to do that here in Chicago for the state of Illinois, right? I think in the Midwest, right? Minnesota will continue to do that as well. Tim Walz is back, right? Being governor, right? So, I mean, I think states that affirm LGBTQ folks and our trans siblings just have to do the work in their own states to protect the people that live there. And I think it's just so dangerous, because this is how we get refugees of trans refugees in this country, because folks need to go seek gender affirming care, right? And then just recently, the House passed legislation that they just passed the military bill. I can't think of the name of the bill, y'all, but it's like a military defense. Yeah, it's like a $500 billion bill or something. Yeah, and Republicans snuck in anti-trans healthcare bans, where people who serve in the military, their children wouldn't be able to get gender affirming care. And it passed the House. Why? Because no one's gonna not vote for a military spending bill to give veterans benefits and raises. And they sneak in these provisions that are so incredibly harmful. So now you're gonna have military folks who have to choose if their children get, their military coverage. And we all know the military's healthcare coverage is good. So if we're choosing between military healthcare coverage and my partner who's got some whack corporate insurance, I mean, this is just, or even if you don't, what if you don't have a partner and this is the only insurance option that you have? I mean, this is just the dirty games that Republicans will be able to play and use over the next 4 years, especially because they've got a full gamut here. Every political house is theirs at this moment.
Yeah, the writing is unfortunately on the wall. I think the Supreme Court will be sinister, and when they announce this during Pride Month, I feel like they'll probably backload it as they tend to do. But we'll be here to see how that turns out.
Absolutely. All right. That is our year in review. Let's go ahead over to our bad queer opinions, because what type of bad queers would we be if we didn't end the year sharing our bad queer opinions? I will go ahead and talk about this first because it feels timely to say this, where, we have so many things to pay attention to, so many items that are happening politically, especially in the US, but across the world, because, we just talked about like the UK blocking puberty blockers and all sorts of things are happening around the world. Us as a whole are not activating enough for my liking. I think we've said this before. We need to activate and fight for our rights, because we in danger, girl. Okay. And we need to do more to fight against these bills, make more of these calls. There are so many ways to do this depending on like your level of wanting to do it. It's not just all being out in the streets protesting and doing stuff. There's so much behind the scenes. There's so many volunteer opportunities. There's so many calling opportunities, writing letter opportunities. So it goes from the extroverts to the introverts to the people who are in the middle of nowhere to the people who are in big cities. Like, there's so much, and I'm holding myself accountable to this too. There's just so much more that we need to do to get activated. And I don't know what red light needs to go off that will say like, we're in danger, but now is it. So hopefully y'all hear this and find a way to do your thing that fits for you and that works, and encourage your friends and bring somebody else along and just make it happen. But we got to do more.
100%. Holding myself accountable too. There's just more we all should and have to do. The other side never takes a rest. A lot of what their political wins that you've seen have been decades in the making. Like, they've been relentless in trying to get abortion banned. They've been relentless with, attacks on Black and brown people and queer people. Like, they don't take any time off. They don't like lose an election and go, ooh, and all that, and start to, they continue to work and strategize and stay on it. And we're just going to have to, like, I know a lot of us and the people who need rest, take your rest, but like, we're going to have to continue to fight because nobody else is going to fight for us. And as I mentioned before, 74 million Americans do believe in most of the same things. So we got to fight. All right. My bad queer opinion is I think queer Christians need to push back against straight Christians who weaponize the Bible. We shouldn't let them continue to cherry pick and misinterpret scripture to harm us. If their beliefs are being attacked because of their violent interpretation of the word, we have every right to fight back by standing firm in our beliefs that the Bible is full of love, acceptance, and good news for all, including us. So calling on us to push our beliefs too. Like they always are like, I believe this year encroaching on my. No, it's like you have a very violent and misguided interpretation of the word. You're not representing it the way that was intended, and we need to push back on it. Queer Christians are out here. There's also non-queer Christians that believe the same things as us and are accepting and affirming, and we need to stand firm in the word. Like, don't let them just have the word. You know, they weaponize it for many different things. So, gotta push back.
Love that. And then my bad queer opinion is that I think we should lean into matching outfits, okay? Because I know that gets a lot of slack out here in the world, but I think we just need to be as out as possible. And I think matching outfits, okay, at any given occasion, coordination leads to representation. And I think that we all need more of this in our lives in 2025, okay? I want to see cute couple outfits dressed alike. I want to see friends, okay, showing up together, coordinated, because we are in community and we're going to do it right, okay? We're going to find some joy and looking fly together. So I think we should lean into that. I know it gets a lot of flack, you know? Why you got to dress like your partner? Don't, no, more of it. Lean in, people. Do it for the culture.
Coordination equals representation.
Yo, period.
Well.
And on that note, let's wrap up the show.
They needed a hero. Thank you for stepping up and being a hero to the matching outfits tribe.
That's the way.
Anna has come out as a matching outfit
to your page now, looking for this. I'm gonna be looking.
Oh, don't worry. The wife always been on it, okay?
Honestly, because her style game is strong.
It's the only time I get a compliment is when she dresses me. So here we go.
That's so funny.
He said surrender to the matching outfits. I feel a little hit dogs holler there with me, but look, I'm doing the Christmas PJs. Matching.
Lean in, Chris.
There you go.
Lean in, okay?
I love this. Oh man. All right. Well, y'all, thank you for coming to this extended episode. You know, we would never leave you without giving shout outs to our faves. My shout out, I was like, I had a different one, but now I want to pivot because I like Chris's a lot. But mine is going to circle back to shouting out Surface Level Podcast and GLAAD. Mm-hmm. I feel like being able to bring us together this year, being a part of the campaign was just like I feel like it was a moment that like Chris and I needed. It was one of those like, oh, we're doing something. And like, it's not just, yeah, people listen to us and this is great. And it's fun to do every week. And we're just continuing this hobby that like we love and y'all end up loving us too, to bring us together, to be in space and community with so many talented, beautiful, wonderful people, for us to be able to record in person and just feel what that felt like. And then to be a part of a campaign that was so much bigger than us and highlighting Black and brown LGBTQ plus voices just was everything that was needed to kind of like pitch us forward for the rest of the year. So I'm super grateful for Surface Level Podcast to bring us on that journey. And GLAAD too for sponsoring all of it.
Yep. Shout out to them. My shout out is to us. Backwards Podcast. Look at us.
Look at us.
We've had an incredible year. We shipped a lot of things we've been working on behind the scenes. This is in between full-time jobs, a baby, toddler, relationships, marriages. He is 2 going on 10. Lifing. Like it is just, it's any creator, any Black creator knows, you know, it's a commitment, but one that we're fueled by your support and your kind words. It really makes it worth it when you tell us that we've made you laugh or smile and that you look forward to listening to us weekly. And we don't take it for granted. So please support us on Patreon. It is expensive being independent creators. So every little bit counts. Subscribe to our YouTube and continue to download our episodes.
And buy the merch.
We got buy the merch, all that. And shout out to Black creators everywhere who are doing good work and self-funding their projects and working multiple jobs and still creating. It's hard work and we're going to be needed more than ever now.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to all the supporters. I cannot ever say thank you enough to those that tune in, like a post, do a thing, share it with somebody. Like literally, this work doesn't work without the people. And I continue to be blown away. We just did our holiday party recently, and going through all the numbers and reflecting on the year, I ain't hit none of our goals, not one of them, except for one. And the one was to get over 100,000 listens to our Qube original podcast. And we did that. We got over 100. We had 102,000 listens between Queer News and Second Sunday. And I am not listening to all those episodes. It is literally the people. So my shout out is to everybody who is here for queer news, culture, entertainment, storytelling. Thank you. Thank you for listening and proving that we can be out here being independent and making it work. You know, it's hard out here for artists out here, y'all. It's hard. It's hard out here in the street. And so truly thank you to everybody who supports the work.
Award-winning work.
Award-winning. Multiple award-winning.
Big awards.
Work.
Never the little.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Big trophies, never little trophies. For everyone to be sure to continue to support you and the work that you're doing, where can they find you? Where can they follow you? All of that.
Going into next year, I am doubling down on our newsletters that I never talk about out loud. We have a queer news newsletter that I think is pretty good. And I share my own little corner of the world too. And I think it's really dope. So if you're interested in staying in the know around queer news and the podcast, we have a newsletter for that. And then I'm starting a Qube Substack because I'm looking forward to actually bringing the platform to life, looking forward to curating and matching podcast lovers up to their next favorite Black or Brown podcast. So there's the Qube newsletter and Substack that we're starting. So I'm leaning into the newsletter game. So can y'all include the links in the show notes?
Absolutely.
Yes. All right, sweet. Easy. So if y'all get down with me and you don't subscribe, please go do that. And then I think the next place to find me is going to be YouTube. I don't know what's going on with TikTok. It's not looking good, y'all. Just putting it out there. It's not looking good. That which we thought was impossible. Y'all, Trump is in office. Absolutely nothing is impossible. And so TikTok is not looking good. So find me on YouTube at E3 Radio for all your queer news.
Thank you for all that you do, Anna.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah.
It's always so dope being with y'all. This is not only family, this is a tradition, god dang it.
This is a tradition. Okay.
And I'm grateful to know y'all.
Yeah. We are grateful to know you and have you as a part of our Bad Queer fam. And let's see what 2025 brings us and what we're going to be reporting on then, because we never know.
You can't even make it up. You can't even make this really stuff up.
Like somebody in the future, if they ever came back and like listened to these episodes year over year over year, and they were just like, "What?
Again?
How? They got work?"
They'd be like, "Y'all elected him again?
Okay, like y'all circled back. That's crazy." So, you know,
what people will say about us, I can only imagine. Okay, y'all.
Honestly. Well. For everybody that stuck around for all of this time, this is like the read length of episode, but thank you for making it to the end and hanging out.
These the real fans right here.
Yeah. Right here, y'all.
2 hours.
Thank you so much. You know, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep bringing you episodes every week. So, for now, Happy New Year, and we will see you next year, depending on when this comes out.
Week, year, all of it. Take care.
Bye.
Can we talk about things? I'm sorry that I'm